Now, it's important to keep in mind that the champion, the man who faces the most trauma, the man who systematically puts himself under the most trauma so that he can grow and become perfect, he is a better person than the loser. He is the better person than the person who fails to do this. He's actually a better person in general than the person who avoids this altogether. Because you see, when you have to rise up to the challenge, when you have to wiggle harder than everyone else, when you have to go the furthest that you possibly can, you are going to have to face the philosophy of life. You're going to have to face the philosophy of the body. You're not going to be allowed to go into your realm of abstractions, your realm of thoughts. You're not going to be allowed to go into Rubik's Cube land. You're not going to be allowed to go into this left hemispheric intellect and just delude yourself. You're not going to be allowed to just believe anything. You're going to have to discipline your thinking, your mind. You're going to have to discipline your intellect to paying attention to the laws of the body and the laws of reality. You're going to have to calm yourself down and focus on what the body wants and what the body needs. And so, for example, your mind will want to say, oh, I don't need to go through any systematic trauma. I don't need to develop healing rituals in order to make sure that I recover from this trauma. I don't need to do any of that stuff. What I need to do is I actually need to float off into my head. But see, you won't be allowed to do that because you're actually trying to get a result. You're actually trying to win. And of course, in order for you to win, you're going to have to humble yourself. You're going to have to take your ego, your narrow focus, your jargonizing mind. You're actually going to have to discipline it and humble it and get it to pay attention to the philosophy of the body. And this makes you a better person. It makes you more humble. This is why the better man wins. This is why the champion is always the better person and always the more humble person. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. And always the more humble person than anyone else. This is an important thing to keep in mind. Confronting trauma makes you a better person. Liking trauma makes you a better person because it forces you to be humble. And then, of course, because of that, it also forces you to be honest. It forces you to be transparent and straightforward. You have ways outside your ego to measure whether you're doing well. If your body is strong and beautiful, you will look strong and beautiful. Therefore, it's objective. You're like, okay, you were strong and beautiful. You've obviously achieved what you're trying to achieve. You've faced a lot of trauma. I can measure what's going on here. Okay, you defeated me in this fight and I lost, and it's very, very obvious and clear what's going on here. So therefore you won. You were better. The law, reality, biology has favored you. You have succeeded. You had the will and the energy, and then you have the physique and the power in order to pull this off. So you are better than me. You have achieved this. Well done. And it's straightforward and it's honest. Therefore, these champions, these people who systematically face trauma, they get beaten down by life over a long period of time, and they become very realistic, very straightforward, very honest, and very humble, and they become joys to be around. And then, of course, if they ever do start bragging, say, for example, they win quite a lot of stuff, oftentimes what will happen is that their bragging will be very charismatic. It will be very interesting and fun to be around because, of course, it's coming from a place of reality. It's very, very grounded in the truth. It's grounded in the laws of life. They'll have a very, very good take on things that might even be a little bit simplistic because they've been disciplined to the laws of life. And of course, this is important. The person who faces the most trauma is a better person. Now, the person who fails on the fight upwards to become champions, they'll probably be quite a good person as well because they'll face a lot of trauma too. But the person who avoids the hero's journey, who avoids the challenge, who when he comes across his first pieces of trauma, when he comes across these first moments in his life when he gets punched in the face, when he gets punched in the stomach, when he gets hurt, when he gets mentally hurt, when he gets emotionally hurt or something like that, when this person crumples and falls down and becomes a victim and denies the fact that they need to learn how to tackle against life and face these traumas, when that person crumples and falls, what happens is they actually start to become a bad person. This is the way that they go towards being the worst type of character you could possibly imagine, because what happens is they have to deny the reality of the body, because the trauma in the world is something they need to face. Their instincts are saying, I want you to face this stuff. I want you to become brave because I desire to get the girl. I desire to become I want people to admire me. I want all these type of things. I want you to go and face trauma. I want you to go and overcome these obstacles. It's going to traumatize you, but I'm going to push you towards that. Please do it. And they deny this. They have to deny the instincts inside their body. They have to deny their wants inside their body. They have to push themselves out of their body. They have to really escape this place. And instead, what they're going to do is they're going to retreat into their mind. Or maybe better said, they're going to remain in their intellect. And they're going to go up into this Rubik's Cube intellect of theirs, and they're going to start to make an abstract hero's journey. As I've said already, it comes full circle. egotistical. They avoid going and facing the trauma in the world. They avoid disciplining themselves and developing humility. They avoid bringing their ego down and telling it to be quiet. And now they escape all this. They escape all this world of trauma, which is the body, where they perfect themselves. They don't manage to actually own this journey. But of course, their instincts still want them to improve. Their instincts still want them to perfect themselves so that they can become something that's more admirable and more ideal. They want to go on a hero's journey. And so what happens is that it starts to happen intellectually. It starts to happen in your head. It becomes Pokemon Go for the archetypes. It becomes about the library of concepts in your head. It becomes about this Rubik's Cube. There's this great life force that's driving you to do this stuff in your imaginations, in your dreams. There's no reality to it. It's all very, very, very delusional. It's all very stuck in your head and egotistical, but it's perfect. It makes sense. What you can do is you can go up in here and there's no pain. There's no trauma, there's no effort, there's no failure, there's no hurting, there's no reality, there's no world, there's no felt experience at all. But you can still go around like a Rubik's Cube and rearrange all your concepts and put yourself through and collect all the archetypes. Archetypes ergo, you can figure that stuff all out. And what's so fascinating about this is that this is very, very up in the head, but it doesn't mean that the head is free from the body, even though it wants to be. It wants to be free from the laws of life and the laws of the body, but it's not free from the laws of body. And so oftentimes these instincts that happen underneath here will still influence this person. And this is what makes them a bad person, because then they, for example, will become very, very arrogant. They will think just because everything is perfect in their heads that everything should be perfect in the world. And they'll speak to people maybe who face more trauma, and they'll speak down to them. They'll be like, oh, you're not as smart as me. You don't understand how perfect things are in my head. They'll become very huffy and arrogant because they've never been humble. They've never disciplined their mind. They'll become a bit out of touch with social situations. They'll become a bit abstract and all these type of things. They'll be very, very lost in this type of stuff. Everything will be simple and perfect. They'll be very annoying to be around. And of course, what this leads to is them creating a sort of method, a method of perfecting things, a very, very simple hero's journey in their head, an individuation process that you can just perfectly give to everyone, give to all the people and fix them. And in fact, this individuation process is often trying to suggest to people that, well, all this stuff that comes out of the body, these urges, these desires, all this pain and problems and status jostling in the world, and all this fighting and all this competing and all this stress in the world, this is all actually the thing that gets in the way of us doing this individuation Pokemon Go perfect journey in our heads. This is the thing that gets in the way, and that's all actually, all that stuff that comes from life and the body and all, that's all evil, actually. Lo and behold, all of human history was actually just a mistake, a joke. Can you believe that? That all these people jostling and the way that life has always operated was all along, it was just a mistake, a joke. Wow. And we just figured it out. And actually the way that we can fix it is we just have to follow this perfect path where we go through this abstract Pokemon Go video game hero's journey, and then boom, everything will be fixed. And in fact, all the people who get wrapped up in that, trauma-inducing samsara of trauma, where you go through the world and actually go through all the trauma and all that type of stuff, and actually go and fight your way up and become a champion, they're actually evil. They're actually the bad people, because they're continuing this cycle of trauma. And you need to crush that out of you. You need to push that out of you and get it out of the way so you can focus exclusively on this. These are the bad people. These are the people you want to, I kind of want to hate, actually, now that we think about it. And what you'll start to notice then is a little bit of, maybe envy is boiling up, because, of course, something deep down, maybe their instincts, their animating instincts, will say to them, oh, I envy that champion. Maybe that's what they're trying to scream, become that champion. But no, we'll push that down. It's like, I'll become a champion of the mind. Yes, that's what you should be. You should be a champion of the mind, and that guy's just a grug. That warrior, that champion in the world, he's just a grug. You don't want to be like him at all. And so this thinker, this intellect, this person stuck in their heads, they will go and they will postulate this big complex miasma of ideas, and they might even formulate it into some type of systematic, perfect hero's journey archetype thing, Pokemon Go religious system of some sort, of intellectual system, which will fix all the trauma in the world and fix everything. And they'll go and they'll package this up in a nice way, and they'll go and they'll give it to you. And they'll come and they'll find you when you're a young guy, because of course they're going to do the boring jobs like going into academia and stuff like this. So they'll show up and they'll find you, and they'll try program this into you. They'll try take this type of thing and get you as early as possible and stick you into your head and get you obsessed about this perfectionism. As quick as they can, they'll like zoom in there long before you get to become a warrior. They'll slip in there, the priestly types. They'll slip in there and they'll plug this into your head, and they'll get you to deny your body, and they'll tell you not to go to the gym, and they'll tell you not to learn to fight, and they'll tell you to get out of your body, and they'll call the body evil, and they'll get you stuck in your heads, and then they'll get you running around after all these intellectual abstractions, this dangling carrot on the stick, and then they'll lead you off on that journey for the rest of your life, and you will lose everything. You will spend your whole life chasing after this, and your body will degrade, and you'll get born into their cult. And fundamentally, these people are misleading you from life, and they're taking from you, as we said, your ability to become perfect, your ability to make the most out of yourself, your ability to be happy on a very neurochemical way. They will literally take that from you in preference for their arrogance and for their perfection. And they'll make it sound beautiful because it wouldn't be digestible if it wasn't beautiful. But of course, that's exactly what they're doing. They're actually taking the most important things from you: happiness, peace, health, beauty, attraction, handsomeness, competence, skill, confidence. They're taking all these things from you in preference of their arrogance, and it all stems actually from their cowardice, their inability to face trauma in the beginning. And this is the reality with all this. Is the fact is that these people are wrong. They mislead you. They become what we call our psychologists. They become the masters of your mind, the priestly types, the educators, the academics. They become these people, and they take batches and batches of the youth until we churn out of this society all these people who are incapable of facing trauma, all because these people don't know that trauma is a good thing. And if you know how to face trauma and then allow yourself to heal afterwards, you can become strong and beautiful in ways that you could not imagine.